questions coming?
Keeps me busy with the code enforcement stuff. We got one at the swimming pool that won't put
laying in there.
fence around it.
What is?
Correct. Most people would. We got,
It was not on time, and we took it in.
it's the same neighborhood, different guy. We got another guy that,
You got your hearing.
well, we got the hotel out there on 25. Been doing it forever.
Does Rand have? I mean, does Cam have? Cam, you got proclamations to read?
I do. These are the for Hicks and Powell.
I'll have to read
that.
these.
You got those? Okay.
Well, do you want to read it?
Oh, you can read it. I just don't have them.
Yeah, it's the.
Does that have to go with the resolutions?
It's with the hearing related to the land and water.
Okay.
But we also, yeah. Yeah. We'll do pledge and roll call first. If anybody here wants to make a comment, they can.
Do you wear one of those orange outfits with the mugshot?
I just wanted to share that with y'all. Well, that's why I shared it with you. Like, do we make? I mean, but that is so much. Like, that's a real monetary consideration.
Yeah.
So you could have cameras.
And I just wanted to share it with you all, and it might be something we consider next year. But like, for us to make that day a holiday now, no. Would it be okay to do a moment of silence in memory of Caleb? Yeah. That was 1 year yesterday. Yeah. Hey. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Covington, and we'll call to order our Scott County Fiscal Court business meeting for May 23rd of 2024. I'd like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we call the roll, I'd like to ask you all to join me in a moment of silence in memory of Deputy Caleb Conley. A year ago yesterday, Deputy Caleb Conley was taken from us, and his life touched many, and I'd just like to take a moment to have a moment of silence. If you join me in that, appreciate it greatly. Thank you. Ms. Hamilton, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hostetler.
Present.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Foreman.
Present.
Mr. Ellison.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Mr. Culbertson.
Here.
Judge Kevin.
Present. With that said, we will move to a public hearing, and I'm going to read the notice, and then we'll open the hearing. This is public notice request for comment on community recreational needs. And then I'll read the second one related to another, this first one's related to a grant, recreational trails grant, and the second one's related to Land and Water Conservation Fund monies and a possible grant for improvements at Brooking Park at the tennis courts. So we'll read these two public notices and then open the hearings together and ask for any public comment and then go from there. Under the Federal Highway Administration, a small portion of federal transportation funds are annually made available through Recreational Trails Program grants for communities to pursue the development of new trails and paths for both motorized and non-motorized recreation. Citizens are afforded the opportunity to express their views concerning the recreational needs of their community, to provide a forum for discussion. An open meeting public hearing is being held on May 23rd at 6 o'clock to discuss the Scott County Fiscal Court's plan to apply for Land and Water Conservation Fund monies. The meeting will be held at the Scott County Fiscal Courtroom located in Scott County Courthouse. That's where we're at today. Specific purpose of this hearing is to discuss the county's recreational trails program grant application to construct an extension of the Legacy Trail. And then the second part, the same verbiage, just a little bit different. Under the Land and Water Conservation Fund Act of 1965, citizens are afforded the opportunity to express their views concerning the recreational needs of their community. To provide a forum for discussion, open public meeting is being held on May 23rd at 6 o'clock to discuss the Scott County Fiscal Court's plan to apply for Land and Water Conservation Fund monies. The meeting will be held in the Scott County Fiscal Courtroom located in the Scott County Courthouse, 3rd floor. The public is encouraged to attend and participate. The specific purpose of the hearing is to discuss the 2024 Land and Water Conservation Grant application to aid in the development of Brooking Park Tennis Courts renovation project. Proposed improvements include the removal of existing fencing, milling of existing asphalt, and laser grading of up to 3 inches of new, and adding 3 inches of new DGA. This will add 6 new sets of nets, new asphalt, new reconfigured fencing, and new court surface striping. To this point, there has been no public comment made. This was advertised in the newspaper. Are there any public comments that anyone would like to make related to these two grant applications? With that said, then, yes, sir.
They're already existing land and water grants, so we're not doing a grant for a new piece of property, correct?
Appreciate you pointing that out. That is correct at Brooking Park. There is already existing land and water grant money at that site. If there's no other comment, then we'll close that hearing and we'll move on with our agenda. Very well. Number 5, minutes of your last meeting. They were shared by email. Any questions or comments related to those minutes as presented?
Judge, I have one comment. I've already talked to Stacy. There needs to be an edit on my attendance from the last minutes.
Okay.
So it has been being present, but I was not here, so
all right.
I want to make sure that it's clear.
Mr. Hostetler.
Motion to approve.
Second.
As amended, second.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, the transfers as presented by email. Questions or comments?
Judge, one transfer, and Michelle, you might be able to, the $760,000, that is for what project? Because when you sent the email, I couldn't see exactly what that was for.
Thank you, Michelle.
That is the Lane Run Business Park project. Those funds have not been used, and they're being transferred out in order to help fund other things that need to be taken care of.
All right, thank you. Motion for approval, Judge.
Motion? Second. Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Bills and hand checks as presented. Questions or comments? Motion for Mr. Pratt, second for Mr. Livingston. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Gets us to the fun part of the night, to recognize some people doing some really special things. And we're glad, I believe several of y'all are here tonight to hear these proclamations, but we've got a few presentations. Mike has one, Sheriff Hampton has one additional. So we'll read the proclamation for Mr. Hicks first, and then we will go from there.
All right. Proclamation, Scott County, Kentucky, honoring Deputy Jonathan Hicks for an exemplary act of life-saving heroism. Whereas Jonathan Hicks has served as a deputy with the Scott County Sheriff's Office since May 2nd, 2022. And whereas on April 23rd, 2024, while conducting traffic control on I-75 in Scott County, Kentucky, Deputy Hicks's heroic actions saved the life of a Georgetown Scott County Emergency Management Agency, or EMA, employee, Response Officer Les Powell. And whereas on that date, a passenger vehicle sped toward a barrier that Deputy Hicks and Response Officer Powell had set up. While Response Officer Powell was gathering items in the back of an EMA trailer, which was filled with metal road signs and other items, the approaching vehicle never slowed down, disregarded the barrier, and continued toward Deputy Hicks and the EMA trailer with Response Officer Powell inside. And whereas Deputy Hicks put himself in harm's way to quickly get Response Officer Powell out of the trailer, and whereas the approaching vehicle struck Deputy Hicks's patrol vehicle and the EMA trailer, causing Deputy Hicks's patrol vehicle to strike Deputy Hicks, and whereas Deputy Hicks's quick thinking and selfless conduct prevented Response Officer Powell from being seriously injured or killed. Now, therefore, let it be known that the Scott County Fiscal Court and Judge Executive Joe Pat Covington hereby honor and praise Deputy Jonathan Hicks for his selfless and heroic act of life-saving service.
Do you have another presentation that you want to do now, Sheriff Hampton? And then Mike has something as well.
Sorry. Hicks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sergeant Zachary Chitwood. I am a third shift patrol sergeant, and Deputy Hicks is one of my superiors. I wrote the recommendation for him for the life-saving award. It was an act that was selfless and something that we were very proud of and feels needs to be recognized.
Let me get out of the way.
Yeah, we're like,
You want to see a bunch of politicians? We'll pull out the phone. Good time.
Deputy, don't go in. This is the proclamation. Do that, and then the court get behind you and take a picture with you. Thank you for what you do every day, day in and day out, and all your colleagues. This was at 2 in the morning. It was a tough situation, and appreciate your reaction and what you did to save the lives of others. Rick, stand up. Let me stand on top.
Okay, right.
Thank you. You come in the middle, take a photo. Well, I can't
I appreciate it.
No, 100%.
Cheeseburger. Thank you.
Still works, doesn't it?
No worries.
What was his nickname?
I'm not gonna tell you.
I get a new present.
It's with great honor that we present Deputy Hicks with this plaque to convey our heartfelt appreciation for quick actions that saved EMA Officer Les Powell from serious injury and perhaps worse. Your swift response and unwavering support have had a profound impact on all of us. Your selfless dedication and heroism during a critical moment will always be remembered. Thank you for exemplifying true heroism when it mattered most.
No, it's not. Okay. Got it. I'm
Do you want,
away.
Joe Pat, do you want one with the
Well,
magistrate?
here's what I'm going to do, because let's read Mr. Powell's proclamation. We have
Okay.
one for you as well. Honoring Response Officer Les Powell for exemplary act of heroism. Whereas Les Powell has served as Response Officer with Georgetown Scott County Emergency Management Agency since June of 2006. Whereas on April 23rd, 2024, while assisting with traffic control on I-75 in Scott County, Kentucky, Response Officer Powell's actions protected life and safety of numerous Scott County citizens and first responders. Whereas on that date, Response Officer Powell was acting to assist and protect Scott County Sheriff's Deputy Jonathan Hicks, who was tasked with diverting 3 lanes of high-speed traffic onto the exit and closing the interstate due to 2 collisions further south. Whereas on that day, a passenger car disregarded a barrier, struck both Response Officer Powell's trailer and Deputy Hicks' vehicle, caused bodily injury to Response Officer Powell when ejected from the trailer. Whereas Response Officer Powell put himself in harm's way to protect the responders working in other instances, as well as create a barrier where Deputy Hicks and his crews were vulnerable to oncoming traffic. Whereas Response Officer Powell's actions mitigated the scope of the disaster while sacrificing his own well-being. Now therefore, let it be known that the Scott County Police Court, Judge Executive Joe Covey, hereby honor and praise Response Officer Les Powell for his selfless and heroic act of service. Thank you, sir. Comments, because you've expressed to me so many times about the collaboration and work between EMA and how it helps the sheriff's office.
Yeah, so thank you all for what you do. They help us on a lot of wrecks, a lot of floods, whatever. They're always there for us, and they're always in harm's way just as we are. So we're all first responders together. We truly appreciate what you do and what you have done, Les, and I'm glad you're okay. And so you too, Hicks. So thank you all so much.
Let's do one more picture. There. Go on in. We need to shift, Stacy.
It's a little off.
Let's move in there 3
You can
steps.
take my spot. Just the front row.
Thank you, Stacy.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, stay there.
Cheeseburger. Cheeseburger. All right. Let's give them all a big hand.
Three scrambles, 3 coffees. These keep better. Just better safe than trouble.
You're right. You need to know what's going on in the county government.
You're welcome.
I'm going to read some numbers. It's going to be exciting.
Wake me up in the road.
48 million,
I've looked at them a bunch of times.
That is much appreciated, and thank you all for what you do every day, and it's much appreciated. With that said, we'll now we're going to move to Mr. Perry, Stamping Ground Community Event Request. Mr. Perry, how are you?
Great, as you can see.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to come and ask you all again. Last year, if you might remember, we came and asked you to use the property there, Jeff Thompson Drive, just for a farmer's market. I wanted to ask if we could do that again this year and use the waiver I think Mr. Culberson had drawn up for us last year, do that again. And then on top of that, I also wanted to ask for another need this year. 2 years ago, in 22, we did a summer feed program at Penn Memorial. We gave out 3,000 meals that year. Last year, they changed the federal program, and you had to stay on site. And so we dropped to 1,200 people, 1,200 meals over the period of time. This year, the county's doing June, and we're going to pick up July and August. But
the school system, June?
School's June, yeah. Okay. And then Amen House, they're wonderful. I mean, if you saw the thing today, they gave out 60,000 backpack meals in the past year, but they give us food for July and August, and we supplied the volunteers in space. And I'll admit it hurts my heart to admit this, but I think some people are a little apprehensive of coming to a church to pick up meals. So this year I was going to ask, the distributions would be Monday and Wednesday. I was going to ask if possible if we could use that lot for that too, just to hand out the meals. It's a pick up and go meal. They won't be on property unless they want to eat their bag there. But and a lot of people honestly like that better because some parents come home from work, grab the meal, take it to their kids. Some parents that don't work come with their kids, get the meal and go to the park and eat it. But it gives them a better place to come to. Plus, in Stamping Ground, Rob can attest this, the bulk of our kids are in front of the post office or it's a trailer court. And this is equidistant. It's right in, so if the kids are walking, it's an easier place. There's a crosswalk there they can walk across. I just want to see if we could use it for that too. And those dates are July the 1st through August the 13th, and just be Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays and
at 1 o'clock. They have to be handed out at 1 o'clock, yeah.
That be any impact on EMS? Questions or comments?
Dale, I don't know if you know,
Mr.
but
Jones.
the tornado shelter is supposed to be maybe getting some work done then.
Well, we got the slab down.
Yeah, they're moving pretty good. Yeah.
And go ahead, Mike.
The new shelter is going to be behind the EMS building, almost at the dead end of the road, so it's not going to affect.
We just don't want to affect you guys or the shelter going in.
No, and what we thought we'd do is like be near the edge of the parking lot and either hand out Main or have them pull into the school circular and hand out there, but it gives us a place to kind of put the wagon, because it's going to be, on Monday we're giving out breakfast and lunch for 2 days, but Wednesday we're giving breakfast and lunch for 3 days, and that's going to be, I'm going to take a little wagon up here to get it and get back. And
I support what Dale's asking for because it's much needed in Stamping Ground as far as feeding the kids down there. There's a lot of underprivileged kids, and it's much needed down there. And the farmers market draws a few vendors that show up every Friday regardless, and they're there, and it's a spot for them to go. So.
Sounds like a motion to me.
Yes, sir.
And Stamping Ground still fits 100% the federal, when they talk about food deserts, Stamping Ground's a food desert. They don't have any way to get a hold of anything down there.
We got a motion, we have a second to approve your request, and you'll submit the, does he need to?
Yeah, I can, I've got a draft waiver already, so you want me to like email it to Stacy and get it to you that way?
And just put summer feed program, I guess, for that one, and we'll use the one from last year, because it didn't have it, last year you had a 20 and then space. So
we can modify the one from last year to the needs this year.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
And if you want to come hand out, Monday and Wednesday, come hand out. It's good feeling.
100%. Number 10, Resolution 2413. This is the actual recreational trails grant application resolution in support.
All right, Recreational Trails Program, RTP 2024 Grant Application Resolution 24-13. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court proposes to develop resources to provide for the health and well-being of the general public, and whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court intends to make application to the Department for Local Government for assistance under the Recreational Trails Program, or RTP, for funding associated with extension of the Legacy Trail. And whereas the RTP is limited to funding a maximum of 80% of proposed project costs estimated at $211,810. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scott County Fiscal Court hold in reserve 20% of the proposed project costs for the purpose of matching the RTP assistance, and be it further resolved that in the event a grant is awarded, the Scott County Fiscal Court understands that it will sign assurances to comply with all applicable federal and state laws, rules, and regulations, especially Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act.
Questions or comments? Yes, sir.
No, just motion.
Motion. We have a motion. Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 2414, Land and Water Conservation.
Land and Water Conservation Fund 2024 Grant Application Resolution 24-14. Whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court proposes to develop resources to provide for the health and well-being of the general public, and whereas the Scott County Fiscal Court intends to make application to the Department for Local Government for assistance under the Land and Water Conservation Fund Act of 1965 for improvements and renovations to the tennis courts at Brooking Park, excuse me. And whereas the Land and Water Conservation Fund is limited to funding a maximum of 50% of proposed project costs estimated at $640,000. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scott County Fiscal Court hold in reserve $390,000 of the proposed project costs for the purpose of matching the Land and Water Conservation Fund assistance / covering the remaining costs for the project. And be it further resolved that in the event a grant is awarded, the Scott County Fiscal Court understands that it will sign assurances to comply with all applicable federal and state laws, rules, and regulations, especially Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act.
Questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Livingston, second from Mr. Jones. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 12 on our agenda, ordinance 2403, second reading. This is in regards to the unbudgeted receipt related to the sale of the surplus fire truck.
All right. Ordinance 24-03, Scott County Fiscal Court. An ordinance relating to the annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas Scott County, Kentucky has realized unbudgeted receipts, be it ordained by Scott County of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, current fiscal year 2023-2024. The budget for the current fiscal year is amended to increase / decrease the receipts from the following funds to include unbudgeted receipts from A, revenues from the general fund, surplus sales in the amount of $378.19. So total amended revenues are $203,378.19. Appropriations from the general fund, fire office supplies, $12,000. General fund, fire special projects, $54,292. General fund, fire machinery and equipment, $52,794.19. General fund, fire vehicle maintenance and repairs, $30,000, and general fund fire vehicles, $54,292. So total amended expenditures are $203,378.19. Section 2, the amounts adjusting the receipt and expenditures accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. The first reading was done May 10th, 2024, and the second reading is today, May the 23rd, 2024.
Questions or comments? And would there be a motion? Motion from Kelly Corman. Second from Mr. Hostetler. Any other questions or comments?
Did it get delivered?
Pardon?
Did it get delivered?
Yeah,
Got
the
it.
gentleman picked it up. One man drove it all the way back by himself.
We offered. I mean, what are we supposed to do?
And I don't know if y'all looked that up on Google Maps or a map, but it's almost as far as you can go in the. He might not be there yet. I mean, almost as far as you can go on the western part of Canada there, British Columbia. It's Cortez Island.
Hey, Judge, one other comment. I think I made this comment maybe in our special call meeting, but
I'll repeat it. Because since I've been on the court, we've never been able to surplus an item of that kind of value that we got money back. And to me, it's a testimony of the former and current staff at the fire department, same thing with the road department, because they're all involved in maintenance of these vehicles, and to keep that vehicle in such a shape, because normally when we're surplusing cruisers or even road department vehicles, they've usually used them till they're to the last drop. But anyhow, and then we were able to use that money, so to purchase many apparatuses.
The two brush trucks that will be more flexible and really meet the need.
And I just thought that was a testimony of of all the departments working together to maintain our equipment, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, appreciate those comments. Anyone else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll move to Detention Center contract renewal, House Bill 556. We'll also do Detention Center contract renewal, KYTC, and we'll receive a quarterly update from Jailer Broyles. So Jailer Broyles, we'll just get you up here and let you comment on all three of these. I had to text Gerald Broyles because I read the agreement and I needed just a little bit of additional information, but the House Bill 556 contract renewal really reimburses the county for state inmates who complete any state-approved programs through the SCDC. Mm-hmm. So would you comment on anything else there, or?
No, it was legislatively enacted maybe a year or two ago, and this is just a renewal of that contract with the state.
And we've shared that. Is there any questions or comments?
Thanks.
And would there be a motion to approve that?
Motion.
Motion for Mr. Livingston, second for Mr. Jones. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Then the next one, Detention Center contract renewal, KYTC. That is for the roadside work and crew work and cleanup work, and there's a variety of things. Would you like to comment on that, Jailer Broyles?
Yeah, it's really any kind of work that we do for District 7 utilizing the inmate work crews. So it could be weed eating, it could be mowing medians for them, it could be litter pickup. So this is just a renewal of the same contract that we already had in place with them, and it's a good contract for the county.
I left a meeting today, and you had a crew out on McClellan Circle.
Yes, sir.
Picking up, and that work, coupled with what JR and their team does with Swartz and the city as well, but your maintenance and your continued, you respond to when you get calls, and it makes a big difference, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And I know I've said this to you all before, but certainly if you all get any complaints in the community, please contact me. I know many of you have, and we'll be as responsive as we can to those. We'll certainly take care of them. We'll get out there as quick as we can to take care of those issues.
So any questions related to that renewal as shared? Motion from Mr. Hostetler. Second from Kelly Corman. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then we'll allow you to share your update. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Judge, magistrates. Just wanted to report the first quarter report to you all from this year of 2024. The first item, the physical plant, the elevator controls. This was a continuation of the renovation of the control room. We could not get the elevator controls taken care of in the last quarter. Those have since been installed and are working great. Staffing levels, we remain fully staffed at 28 full-timers and 7 part-timers. Our inmate population today is 110, or it was when I checked it earlier today. The monthly highs for the first quarter were for January 137, February 120, and March was 119.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
The 110 inmates housed, and it says housed at other jails. The 110 is including
No, I apologize. I'm glad you caught that actually, Judge. That's a typo.
Okay.
So that's 110 in-house.
Right.
And we've got about 28 or 29 in other facilities. So thank you for catching that. Let's see, additional information. The website is back up and operational. Just some information on the road crew that we mentioned a little bit earlier. They've picked up about 1,546 bags of trash in this quarter, 70 tires, 24 needles. They've also been doing work for Park and Recreation at the Aquatic Center and then in the parks for Park and Recreation. They've also been doing work for the Georgetown Housing Authority as well as some other entities in our community. We've replaced all second floor smoke detectors. We're on par to be replacing the first floor smoke detectors. We just haven't gotten those completed yet. So probably in the next few weeks, we'll have every smoke detector in the facility completely replaced. And those are being replaced by our own maintenance staff, which is saving us for the total cost of replacing all the smoke detectors. Him replacing them as opposed to Simplex coming in is saving about $6,000. So,
Question on that.
Yes, Rob.
So is that system tied in with the justice part too, the justice building part, the courtrooms?
So the fire control box, it is and it isn't. The fire control box for the whole facility, because we have somebody there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we had the monitoring box in our control room. And so when the fire department responds to the facility on either side, they have to come into our side of the facility to reset the system. So, but as far as the replacement of the smoke detectors, that is just on our side of the building.
So is there a reason why they're replaced? Because I'm just wondering if they don't need to be replaced in the courtrooms and such, on that side also.
I'm not sure. AOC usually handles the other side.
AOC handles that side, but it's worth checking, Rob. I mean, but AOC handles all that on that side.
Okay. And the last item was replacement of 2 of the 3 facility, and by facility I mean our side of the building, smoke evac systems. So the smoke evac system is if there's a fire, we can turn on the smoke evac system and it draws the smoke out of the cells. Obviously, smoke is the killer that we're concerned with. We're concerned about fire, physical fire, but smoke will get them a lot quicker than a fire will in the facility. And then I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about HIP tonight or not, so I just put that on here.
I don't think tonight.
Okay.
We need to finish it, getting that drafted and then share it and go from there.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Questions or comments?
How's the new medical working out? The 12 hours, 7 days a week?
Yeah, it is just short of a godsend. It is, and so thank you for that. Night shift is getting some face-to-face time with the nurse and with the medical staff. They're completely doing the med passes, whereas before we were doing one of the med passes. They were doing the early one. We would usually do the late one. Now they're completely doing them on a case-by-case basis. Every once in a while, we'll do a med pass, but they're taking care of the med passes, and so it is working out fantastic. So thank you again for that.
I had 2 things.
Yes, sir.
Taylor, one, I actually got a complaint this week about, it really had nothing to do with you all, but it had to do with code enforcement. But the jail inmates had done work for code enforcement in the past, and that's what they referenced was that. Are you no longer doing any type of work for code enforcement?
Since we came back from COVID, we have not done any work for code enforcement. I'm not opposed to it. I just have not been contacted about doing any work. I'm for helping out any entity, whether it's city, county, Stamping Ground, Sadie'ville. I'm for helping anybody out with the inmate work crews. I just haven't been contacted about helping code enforcement out.
Okay. Well, Georgetown Housing Authority, and I'm almost 100% positive on this, is that it's all funded by federal money.
As far as I know, yes.
But the county and city both contribute to code enforcement.
Correct.
And I just didn't know, I didn't understand why the disconnect was there, and I knew that wasn't you. I just wasn't exactly sure, you know, what was going on. And so,
Right.
Judge, we could have Jared reach out to, if they need something with code enforcement, to reach out to Jared Broyles.
They definitely mentioned of Seth Johnson as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of different entities that we haven't gone back to post-COVID working for. Georgetown Public Works is one. We were working for them every week before. Since COVID, they haven't requested any help. They know the help's available from us if they need it, but just haven't received any requests from Robert over at Public Works to help them out. But certainly, yeah, anything to do with city, county government, or the Stamping Ground or Sadie, be happy to help out with.
The second question had to do a little bit with the budget, and I was looking at your overtime hours, and your overtime hours had gone up from 23 to 24. I think that's from April 23 to the end of March of 24.
Mm-hmm.
And your staffing levels went up. So the court had approved those two positions. So you now have more people working,
mm-hmm.
and you have more inmates that are being housed outside of the Scott County Jail than previously in the last few years. And I don't want to look at the dollar figures, because that's not fair, because the salaries have gone up, and then when you put overtime on that, the money is increasing. So that's not necessarily a fair comparison to say your budget's going up in overtime, because the salaries have gone up as well. But I was curious of why the hours had gone up if there had been additional employees at the jail.
Yeah, so our staffing levels have improved, and actually over the last year, we've been fully staffed at the 28. Now, we are still, and are you just comparing it to the last year, or was it the last several years that it was compared
from
to?
21 to 24.
Okay. So certainly last year we were operating with 2 less staff that we had previously been operating with. I think that contributed to it a little bit. And then we're being asked to do additional tasks at the jail, which probably have contributed to some of that overtime. The Isaiah House, the programs that we offer. So probably some of that is associated with an increase in overtime as well.
I'm just trying to, as we're looking at the budget, I'm just trying to look at everything holistically, and that, and by the way, the court got all this, they got all this data about the hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, that was since you were here, I was going to ask that question.
I do think, without saying 100% certainty, I do think that there's a chance of those overtime hours going down if you all approve the 2 additional positions coming back to the jail, or at least leveling out.
And we have in the budget, as we discussed, the 2 additional to go to 30 FTE. That's what's in the budget. Okay. And with your additional offer of transport, mm-hmm. that was the deciding factor for me that helped. Because we're helping 2 agencies and helping yours and Sheriff's Office. So that makes sense to me, and I think it'll help everybody.
And if I can just kind of dovetail with that particular issue, although we'll be taking on the CODA transports, that's going to be, the way I envision it is that we're going to be able to kind of work that into our current schedule. We won't be having to, I don't think, schedule in a lot of additional hours for that. So as our schedule permits at the jail, we'll go and we'll take care of these transports.
But you just said something that concerns me. You said as our schedule permits at the jail.
Mm-hmm.
So are you not going to be doing all the transports, or
So what we'll be doing are the transports to other facilities. Mm-hmm. For instance, when we choose to house somebody in another facility.
Right.
But then we're doing the CODA transports as well. We're not going to go pick up individuals in other counties that have been picked up on a Scott County warrant and need to be transported back.
But just the ones
that'll be the sheriff.
Yes, just the ones that you would deal with specifically. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for that, because I heard Sheriff Hampton said a couple months ago that we were taking deputies out of the county to go do those. So anything that keeps our deputies here, I'm all for, so.
Well, and I agree with you, Mr. Pratt, and I think maybe you brought it up in the fiscal court meeting. I think, and I thought it was a fantastic idea to be able to keep the SO units here and for us. And quite honestly, I think it streamlines the process. Instead of the SO, the court system, and us coordinating with it, it's just us and the court system kind of working on it.
Anything else you want to mention, Jeller, or
No, sir.
question, Rob?
Even with all that, the overtime hours, you think will come down?
I think we'll at least, I can foresee us leveling off with overtime hours. I don't think that doing the code of transports is going to impact our payroll and our overtime hours that much, because I really think, as we recognize that, hey, somebody needs to be brought in for court, we have enough staff at the jail, we're not experiencing a busy night, we can send somebody that night just to go and get them as needed, as opposed to specifically scheduling in somebody extra, which would cause additional hours to be added to the payroll hours.
Thank you. On those, are part-timers eligible to do the transport, or is it only your full-time? Okay, part-timers are also, okay.
Yes, sir.
That makes sense, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, Jill Broyles, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
With that said, then, we will move to 16. We actually do not have a new hire candidate, so we'll move to 17, EMA purchase truck replacement. And as I shared by email, the wreck that was involved here with the proclamations that we did, that destroyed a Tahoe that EMA had. And from that, you're going to realize a little bit over $10,500 once the deductible's out. And Mike is requesting, and it made sense to me, he has money in his budget line coupled with the money from the settlement to enough to purchase a Chevy 1500 pickup truck off state bid contract list to essentially we'll move that into the deputy director's position. Then the Suburban that she drives that has 106,000 miles or so will be moved down to part-time staff to be able to drive and react and use that on responses and such. Does anybody have any questions for Mike?
I do have a question. Well, and it's not specifically for Mike, but it might be. Did the person who caused the accident have insurance?
I can't say that for sure.
Because we shouldn't be out anything.
Right.
Deductible wise.
Typically, we get the $1,000 back a month or two later once they do.
But
I don't think this guy does.
okay, I'd like to know, because actually that should go back and go to CAECO on the insurance side. If they reimburse us, then
who can we call to confirm?
Sheriff's office would have whether he had insurance or not.
Right. So at the time of the accident report, they couldn't prove insurance.
Okay.
They are doing their investigation, trying to come up with name on the registration and insurance and all that.
Okay.
But as of when I checked yesterday, they still don't have the answer one way or the other, whether or not he had insurance.
We've really stay on that.
Yeah.
Not let that
100%.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't know a lot about what you all pull or what, but is it 1,500 sufficient for you all?
Yeah.
I just don't know what weight you all pull, what size trailer.
My staff car is the 3/4 ton, and that pulls the mobile command post. All of the rest of our trailers are under 3,000 pounds, so 1,500 is more than enough to do that.
Any other questions or comments, and would there be a motion to approve the purchase? Motion. Second from Mr. Livingston. Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Mike, thank you all. And, I wanted Sheriff Hampton to make comment tonight, because he's shared many times about how much you all help on scene and how it helps the sheriff's office, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Much. With that said, ordinance 2404, first reading for the 24-25 budget. We've had work sessions. We've had many meetings. We have shared this, and I'm very pleased to present this. And the budget will move us forward as we've shared in the work sessions. The number one thing that we do is provide services to our community, and in order for us to provide the best services, we need to make sure we have employees, and to be able to great employees, and to be able to do that, we need to compensate them a fair market-based salary, and it helps us recruit, helps us retain. And one of the big things in this budget is, we talked about, we'd looked at those positions that we had concerns about, their medians, the firefighter, deputy sheriff, road department, the equipment operator, CDL, non-CDL, EMT, paramedic, deputy jailer. And when we started looking at adjusting those medians to where we felt like they needed to be, we were impacting over 200 employees already. So that kind of led us to where, Kelly mentioned, well, let's look at it across the board and catch it collectively and holistically. And after looking at the money, looking at the dollars, that's what made sense. And, we base every year, we look at the Bureau of Labor and Statistics cost of labor recommendation, and that's what we usually base our COLA on. So let the record reflect Mr. Ellison is with us now. But we base that on, that COLA on that, and this year that was 5%. So in effect, we'd mentioned an 8% total adjustment, but we're looking at, when you drill down, it's a 5% COLA and then a 3% market median salary scale adjustment, and it really makes the difference, in my opinion, to impact our staff, and it's the right direction to go. With that said, also this budget addresses and follows through with the capital projects that we've been working on, and helps us complete those. The Sheriff's Office Clerk's Annex, the Farmers Market Pavilion, the EMS station, the Legacy Trail project that we are starting, and hopefully we'll get to construction during this budget cycle. So there's a lot of things that are being impacted very positively with this budget, and we're doing it in a, I think, being a good steward of tax dollars, and I'm proud of what we've worked on. I appreciate everyone's work on this, and comments from staff, Michelle, Stacy, Jeff, Kara. It's a true team effort, and then all the department chairs and constitutional officers as well. Appreciate that very much. Would anybody like to make a comment or such before Cam reads the ordinance actually?
I'll make one comment. Since I was on the budget committee, it's pretty tight. I don't think there's much you can find in here that would be considered wasteful. I think it's been chiseled down, and of course it's always hard because we have a lot of asks from a lot of departments and a lot of different people, and it's hard to say no sometimes, but you have to. But I think it's a solid budget, and it's a lot of thought and effort went into it.
Appreciate that comment, and I will add that the positions that we had several position requests for new positions, and this budget will allocate funds for a victims advocate at the sheriff's office. It will allocate funds for 2 new deputy jailers at the jail. It will allocate funds to move a .5 clerk in the county clerk's office to a full-time position. And we'll have to watch that when we make the move to make sure we've got plenty. But hopefully that will adjust it and that'll address it. And I don't think I'm leaving, well, I will add, as we discussed, the 2 provisional firefighter positions, we're not adding full-time equivalent, but what we are doing is, and we have 4 vacancies, and we're going to go ahead and allow John to put 6 individuals into a training class, and we'll deal with that through attrition through the year. The last 2 years, we've had 7 and 8 firefighters leave in the last 2 years, and just this makes sense to do this for the training aspect of it. So that in itself is a commitment that we're making as well. So any other questions or comments? Cam?
Yep. All right.
I'm sorry, Rick Costello.
Sorry, Rick.
What? That's okay, no problem. I just wanted to repeat something I said the last time we were discussing the budget, and agree with your opening statement, Judge, about our first goal, or my view is my first goal is to provide these services, especially the emergency services, Sheriff's Department, EMS, Fire Department, and so forth. But it takes all of the departments to get that accomplished. The roads got to be in place and taken care of, and we all know that. And I just wanted to reiterate, because we had a discussion in our last, meeting or workshop, I don't remember which one it was, about this salary increase, and it's a big chunk of money. But those folks are employees, the county employees in all the departments. That's what makes it go, and that's how we provide the services. So, and then I in the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking back. This last 4 years, it's kind of nothing ordinary about it when COVID hit, and it's so blown up the private sector and the public sector. I know we experience it in the private sector, trying to find employees and quality employees, sometimes just find employees at all. And so I think we've done a good job on this, and just for those reasons, because I want to know when I go to sleep at night that our county's covered. And it was fortunate that nobody was hurt bad, but fortunately we had folks, qualified people in place on that interstate, a month ago now, when that tragic accident happened. And so there's a lot of money here, but that's what makes it go. And I'm thankful for the work of the Budget Committee and their recommendations.
I appreciate that. And I really think we're addressing needs now, and we're addressing needs into the future. So appreciate that. Cam, would you?
Sure. All right. Ordinance 2404, an ordinance relating to the annual budget and appropriations. Be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of Scott County, Kentucky, the following budget for the fiscal year 2024-2025 and the amounts stated are appropriated for the purposes indicated. Budget of Scott County, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, summary analysis of appropriations. General Fund, General Government, $12,235,700. Protection to persons and property, $17,137,507. General Health and Sanitation, $1,253,633. Social Services, $756,959. Recreation and Culture, $2,123,806. Airport Operations, $80,000. Debt Service, $573,827. Capital Projects, $171,000. Administration, $14,209,119. Total General Fund is $48,541,551. Road Fund, Roads is $3,935,141. Capital Project is $100,000. And Administration is $1,338,267. So total road fund is $5,373,408. The Jail Fund, Protection to persons and property is $3,401,758. Social services is $200,000. Administration is $1,639,218. So the total jail fund is $5,240,976. LGEA fund, roads is $200,000, so total in that fund is $200,000. Federal forfeiture fund, general government is $3,685, and administration is $500. So total in the federal forfeiture fund is $4,185. ABC regulatory fund, general government is $30,700. So total ABC regulatory fund is $30,700. Opioid settlement fund, social services $210,000, administration $150,300. So total opioid settlement fund is $360,300. County clerk storage fund, general government is $205,000 and administration is $100. So the total of that fund is $205,100. McCracken fund, social services $2,000. So total in that fund is $2,000. The hospital trust fund, social services is $2,000 and total in that fund is $2,000. Capital improvements fund, debt service is $1,007,000. Capital projects is $19,490,962 and administration is $1,000. So total capital improvements fund is $20,498,962. So in sum, total budget appropriations, the total general fund is $48,541,551. The total road fund is $5,373,408. The total jail fund is $5,240,976. The total LGEA fund is $200,000. The total federal forfeiture fund is $4,185. The total ABC regulatory fund is $30,700. The total opioid settlement fund is $360,300. Total county clerk storage fund is $205,100. Total McCracken fund is $2,000. Total hospital trust fund is $2,000. And total capital improvements fund is $20,498,962. So the grand total of all funds is $80,459,182.
I will make one additional comment. We're talking about the adjustments. As we shared in the last work session, the adjustments for our deputy jailer positions and their jail staff, that actual adjustment recommendation was 9.83. As we discussed in that work session, looking at those medians, it was still higher, and we felt like it was appropriate to adjust those pay scales at 9.83. I believe that gives the starting wage on an hourly basis for a deputy jailer to be $19.60 an hour. So that was just one other thing I wanted to make mention. That was a little bit different than that total 8% on everyone else. I coupled that with the 5% COLA and the 3% adjustment. So questions or comments? Any other questions or comments?
Just one comment. I just want to thank Michelle Ray for her work on the budget as well. I called her this afternoon. I was going through it one more time, and so she always answers, and I know she works hard on it as well. So I just wanted to recognize her and thank her. I know it's just first reading, but one more to go.
Yeah. Appreciate that, and I know she does too. Any other questions or comment? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, we better have a motion.
Oh.
Who wants to make a motion? Motion from David, a second from Dwayne. I apologize. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all. And we'll have a second reading. Now, tomorrow, Jared will go on his annual trip to deliver this to DLG and put it in their hands. And then, hopefully we'll get this back within the next 7 to 10 days, I hope. The scheduled second reading is for June 14th. So that's our scheduled second reading, and that is dependent upon the DLG schedule. Now, annual standing order that allows us to pay utility bills.
Oh, thank God. It's enough numbers for one night. Just the top part? All right.
Yeah, but this is the annual standing order that allows us to pay utility bills.
All right. Annual standing order to pre-approve certain recurring expenses. Pursuant to KRS 68.275.3, the fiscal court may adopt an order to pre-approve the payment of monthly payroll and utility expenses. No other expenses shall be pre-approved pursuant to this subsection without the written consent of the state local finance officer. The fiscal court of Scott County, in accordance with state law, hereby orders recurring expenses or utilities, including telephones and salaries, be paid when due. And it is hereby acknowledged that the above standing orders shall expire after July 1st of each fiscal year, and no more payments designated in the standing order shall be pre-approved unless a new order is adopted by the fiscal court of Scott County according to the provisions of KRS 68.275.3.
Questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion. Second for Mr. Pratt. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Under new business, Mr. Pratt, I think this end of the aisle or this end of the desk would like to hire a speed reader for these things.
So we
Care for
are.
my own insomnia.
We do come to new business. And we had Mr. Scott Romano, who requested to address the court. And welcome, Mr. Romano.
Thank you. I prepared something. Can I hand out to you guys?
Yes, sir.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was going to happen. This is my first time here, so-
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Some light reading for you. Read you guys.
Yeah, we can.
Talk about needing a speed reader.
Let me give you a little history of how this started. First thing, the organizational chart. I just thought that was kind of cool because I realized that everybody that's right below the citizens are elected officers. And I thought that was pretty interesting. The way you don't typically see an organizational chart where the citizens are at the top. So I thought that was pretty cool. In 2018, I was involved in a lawsuit with my HOA. Surprise, surprise, huh? At one of the preliminary hearings, I looked across the aisle, and three of the people that were in the lawsuit were represented by members of the Scott County's Attorney's Office, which surprised me. Frankly, just surprised me. I'm thinking, well, it's work hours. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're over here doing private practice, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I did understand that there's a KRS code that says assistant county attorney shall not be prohibited from engaging in the private practice of law. Makes sense to me. So I thought, well, maybe they were there on a maybe they're part-time. So I got a text or an email from Mr. Culbertson that says, no, all the positions are full-time. So that took me into issuing FOIA requests. For those of you don't know, that's the Freedom of Information Act, that citizens have the right to get information from their government to make transparency. So I started doing that. In the next couple pages, you'll see that and this was also on the official pleadings or answers that were done by some of the attorneys. Their official address in those pleadings was 198 East Washington Street. They did not have a private office. They were using the office of the Scott County's Attorney Office, which is a county facility funded by taxpayers. So I thought that was interesting, and so there's some information there. Then I went to as we go down these pages, I went to the Scott County Fiscal Court Handbook, and it talks about use of county property and equipment. County-owned equipment shall be used only in the performance of official county business, except that county-owned equipment may be used for personal use by either employees or the general public with permission from the county judge executor. However, then you go a couple pages further in the handbook, and it says outside employment. Employment shall not occur during the employee's regular or assigned working hours unless the employee is on vacation leave, compensatory leave, or leave without pay. So my question is, one of the questions I have is, well, if we allow our county attorneys to do that, why not allow J.R. Brandenburg to come and blacktop my road for me, using the county equipment and the county materials and all of that? It just seems kind of strange to me. So I then proceeded with more FOIA requests. And I said, okay, let's see what kind of reimbursements were being made by the lawyers that work in the Scott County's attorney's office. And I determined that some of them compensated, some of them did not at all. And the compensation was up to the discretion of the lawyer using the county amenities. One of the attorneys stated that he netted $10,000 in 1 year, so he paid $800. I would love to contact my mortgage company and say, hey, I had a bad month this month. I only netted $5,000, so here's my new payment I'm going to do for you. It doesn't work that way. To have an office, a private office here, and any lawyer here would tell you that, in Scott County, in Georgetown, runs about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. It's not cheap. I have a friend of mine that just set up a practice recently. It cost him $75,000 to set it up. So there's a huge advantage to having all the services of the Scott County's attorney's office. You get to have somebody answer the phone. You get copy machines. You get toner. You get electricity. You get utilities. You get Westlaw access, which is a legal internet, which is about anywhere between $100 and $150 a month. They're getting that free. There's no compensation for that. And I don't think that's a good deal for the citizens. As we went on here and you go on, you'll see more and more, and a lot of this has to deal with the compensation that they were given. Again, they make up the compensation. So one of the open records requests I said was, is there a formula? Is there is there something written as far as what you compensate? And the answer is no, nothing exists. And I thought that was really unbelievable that this has gone on, and we're talking years that this has gone on. Toward the end of this, you'll find that so I asked that through the FOIA. I asked that same question like 4 different times, just to be clear. Is there a formula? What compensation do these people do? So there was probably 4 or 5 FOIA requests that were focusing in on this, diving into this, saying there's got to be something. I want to make sure that this is not, that this is. I didn't want to see what I found. What I found was people taking advantage of the county resources without any compensation to the county. At the end, you'll see that there was one of the FOIA requests I did was denied by the Scott County's Attorney's Office. So I appealed to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General sided with me, stating that the Scott County's Attorney Office did violate the open records request when it denied a request for records without explaining how cited exemptions applied to the records that are withheld. That was a 4-page thing, 4-page decision that he had done. So I guess my question here to this court is, what is the advantage of letting somebody use facilities free of charge? Why?
So I'll answer your question.
Sure.
The KRS that you referenced mentions that they shall not be prohibited from private practice. It's been a long-standing practice. You're pointing out that there needs to be a policy. I appreciate that. We will follow through. We will address it. We'll look at it and try to bring something to the court as a draft to look at that's fair and reasonable, and go from there.
My recommendation would be just do away with the whole practice. If they want to have a private practice, let them set up an office.
That's duly noted, and we'll note that as your opinion.
Yeah, I also just want to bring up one other thing. I mean, this is a lot more serious than a citizen up here saying. There's a KRS statute 522-050, which is abuse of public trust, and it goes through it. Though one of the things I'll just read here is to have dealt with the public money or property as his or her own, when he or she fails to account upon lawful demand. There's no compensation for some of the people. Some of the attorneys gave zero compensation, none. That's pretty scary. So, you know, you'll have lawyers flocking to rent an office over there if they can get all that stuff free. So again, to make it, in terms of transparency, I would recommend that this fiscal court just eliminate that practice. There's nothing that keeps them from practicing law, but how are they in the courtroom during the work hours? How are they doing that?
May I ask you a quick
Yes.
David, what are the set hours for a county attorney?
I have no idea, but I know what
They're salary, so they're not hourly.
Right,
So they not only do work at home, I'm sure, on their cases and things. And so it's no different than in that situation in my job. If I need to take off to go do something, then as long as I'm getting my work done, I can take off to go do that. So if there are no set hours for a county attorney, I'm not sure that you can have the argument that they're doing something wrong when they're in court during the day if they don't have hours from 8 to 4.
I understand that. I understand that.
I mean,
However,
I just wanted to point that out. I'm
yeah.
not arguing with what you're saying.
However, the court hours are set. You can't have, we don't have night court here in Georgetown. So,
but the county attorney hours are not set.
I understand.
And if the county attorney is in the place where they need to be during the time of their job, then if they are attending court, then if there's not a court session going on for the county attorney to be hearing, but they are hearing something for their private practice, then I don't see an issue with that.
They're paid for by the county. They're county employees.
They don't have hours, though. They're able to do what they need to do. Nobody says they have to work 40 hours a week. Nobody says they have to work 80 hours a week. That's why they're salaried.
Right. If
it's no different than my job. If I wanted to work 25 hours a week and I got all my work done, then that's okay as long as I'm getting all my work done.
And I would go back to the KRS as well. But with all due respect, you have brought we will address your concern, and we will draft something to present and take comment from the court. We will try to look, and I think this has already happened, but we'll try to look if there's any other examples out there, and then we'll go from there.
The examples from 2 other counties, they don't allow this. They don't permit it at all. I've looked at 2 other
Appreciate
counties.
that.
Who are the counties?
Woodford and Bourbon. They do not permit it at all. There's just too much of a gray area, too much potential for abuse. They just
May I
don't
speak
permit it.
at some point?
I'm going to, if you're finished, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thank you. And then I was going to ask, is there any other?
All right.
And then allow you,
appreciate that.
Cam. Cam, go ahead. Cam asked earlier if he could address the court.
Yeah, I don't want to really address this to Mr. Romano, or I would like to address the court and the public because, I'm sure people take the paper and saw this article a couple days ago that was in the newspaper. And, the information in that and a lot of what's being said tonight is demonstrably false. The first sentence in the headline was false. It was misleading. We've had a number of trials, for example. The allegation that we've had 248 civil trials is laughable and absurd and ridiculous. And it shows a complete ignorance of what we do day to day. It shows a complete ignorance of the nature of our work. No one reached out to me other than an email from the paper. No one reached out to Kelly, to Ben, to any of our staff, to anyone on the fiscal court, to any law enforcement. No one from the paper did that, who would actually know what we do there day in and day out. This article came out on election day. Okay, let's get real. Citing a source that openly supported a candidate who was running against another candidate who was an employee of our office. Okay? That's what this is about. What this is about is Ms. Kearney had an event in February, okay? Mr. Romano was at that event. 2 days later, I get the first of 14 open records requests on this issue, okay? So I want to start with that. I don't appreciate my integrity and character being questioned. I don't appreciate my office's integrity and character being questioned. So there's that. So I also want to say that the idea, the insinuation that we're down there just doing private practice all the time is ridiculous. Most of us do very little of that. One of my heroes, my mentors in this job are Glenn Williams and Rand Marshall. I worked for them for years. They're great people. We're awesome county attorneys. They also did a whole heck of a lot more private practice than I do, and it's something that reduced drastically when I took office in August of 2022. And the reality is we do little to no private practice now, and I basically just do stuff if somebody needs help, and it's not a long thing. So I don't appreciate our office being dragged through the mud over this, okay? That said, there is one thing I do agree with. It has been suggested that there be a policy in place, that we, have a policy to deal with this going forward, to clarify, should there be reimbursement to the county? Should there be a formula for that? I support that. We would like that guidance. We, more than anybody, want to do things ethically in the right way. I've already had conversations with Mr. Mudrack about this several times, and with Judge Covington, and if anybody wants to audit us, or the Bar Association wants to take a look, or the Attorney General, or whoever, we are happy to cooperate and have nothing to hide on that. So I just feel the need to publicly say that a lot of this is just wrong and defend us, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comment from a court member on that matter? Is there any other public comment from anyone here in the audience requesting to address the court? Any court member have any additional new business?
Oh, I do. We had with CAECO, they award a presidential scholarship, and it was given out to 2 students, one at Great Crossing, one at Scott County. It's $8,000 over a 4-year period, as long as they're in school, and it can be vocational or a 4-year degree. And I don't get to participate in the choosing of the students. It's done by committee, and then they tell me who they chose. And it was Brian Munoz at Great Crossing and Aubrey Roark at Scott County High School.
And Ryan Livingston.
No, trust me, I made my, I was like, that's not fair. I'm the one doing the work.
Yeah. I will add one other piece of information. 1 o'clock Saturday, there will be a Memorial Day ceremony out here on the west side of the courthouse. I believe the VFW, Mr. Woodrum, is leading that, and would encourage anybody to join me there to thank those who have made those sacrifices, veterans. So it's 1 o'clock. Dwayne Ellis.
We had graduation parade last night, and county fire and our SO was great, and EMS, everybody, Jeep, Bush family. I mean, it was again. I'm glad we have that now. It's a really nice thing that all of our services help us put on. So, and keep your fingers crossed for some dry weather the rest of the weekend.
Mm-hmm. And Stacy brings up the Horsey 100.
Horsey 100.
There'll be a lot of people on the road. Please drive safely. And
this weekend?
Yep.
Memorial Day weekend.
Be a
You'll
good
start
host.
seeing them a lot tomorrow afternoon.
Be a good host.
I also want to say, if you're not following Scott County Fire Department on social media, these videos they're putting out they're amazing. So
I gotta check it out.
They just had a fire a couple of days ago. It was like a vehicle fire, and they put out an awesome video on it. So.
With that said, there's none other. Mr. Wallace.
227, work in the curve. You all want to know, going Stamping Ground Road, I believe, JR, correct me, that's still October, is that right? Yeah, so that's a big issue, getting to Stamping Ground from Georgetown.
It's already started some.
Oh, they've already made a huge improvement. I thought they widened the road, but they come through there and cut the trees before you get to McConnell's Trace. It looked awesome. So
they're about to close the train bridge over.
They've already closed that.
Oh.
I use Lemons.
A couple times.
I use Lemons Mill all the time. So on Lemons Mill at the train overpass, there. That is closed and will be closed for an extended period. So we put something out about that on social media as well.
I know you've emailed everybody, and I'm sure it's on Facebook, but is there any more response yet from the railroad about?
So I shared that with you all, the update.
It's been going on.
What Master Hostetter is speaking of is we have activated close to 4,500 homes with Spectrum in our broadband project, countywide broadband project. But there are several areas in northern Scott County that are still in the dark because 2 permits for attachment on railroad property are being held up. Spectrum has paid a service to expedite this called Rail Pros. It's not helped. We have called Senator McConnell's office and asked for help, Congressman Barr's office. This week I spoke to the director of broadband deployment for the state office it's underneath the governor's office. I have asked for help, but we're still struggling. We'll continue to work on it. But
I was hoping you were going to say you got a phone call today. But
the railroad is like an entity.
It's like a small
country on their own.
Yeah. So, with that said,
well, real quick,
I hope I answered your question.
You did.
What about Cane Run Road?
It's still, we're still stuck, aren't they, Judge? Cane Run and Craig Lane and.
I got fussed at last night at the softball tournament.
That is the last.
It's the last part.
It's the last. It's the tail end. But those are moving forward.
Okay.
It's
like
just
Grayson Way and everything,
yes,
all that through there.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. Neil Lane. It goes from Neil Lane, Grayson, and back through there. It's to where you're talking about.
Between 460 and Ironworks.
So
we're stuck.
it's just they're on the tail end, and we're almost there though. Almost there. And we'll keep working on the railroad. So appreciate those questions. If there's nothing else, anything else, would there be a motion to adjourn? Motion for Mr. Livingston, second for Mr. Corman. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Working on the rail.